All right, so we are live. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to Woodland Pools and to another Cardano Q&A live stream. So today we've got a few different things we want to jump into. As you're joining, let us know where you are joining from. All right. Perfect. Let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have. And what we'll do is in between the different topics as we go through them, we will get to them. If you're watching on the replay, I'm going to add chapters down below for the different sections that we go through so you can jump straight to the ones that you want to see. And if you have any questions and you're watching on the replay, just drop them in the comments down below. So let's go ahead and take a look. Today, we're going to look at some updates on Hydra and a reminder on what Hydra is and where we're at. Some catalyst information, updates on USDA, the stablecoin from Emergo and their Anzens projects. And then, of course, the big announcement of our pride hitting rock bottom and being selected as a HOSKY Rug Pool. So yeah, and when we dig into that, I think it'd be a good idea to also take a look at sort of like what HOSKY is, because I know we've got now people that are tuning in tonight probably have a mix of backgrounds. We're gonna have some people that are joining because we are now a HOSKY Rug Pool, but people maybe who are just have been following the channel for a long time aren't as familiar with the project. So I thought for both, we'll take a step back and we'll take a look at that. So yeah, so let's go ahead and jump in. The first piece that I wanted to go over here is this announcement from IOHK. This is from today, actually, this came out, that Mithril's first certified snapshots are now being produced on Mainnet. So they have this thread here where they talk a little bit about what Mithril is, the stake-based signature scheme, the three different parts of Mithril, the signer, the aggregator, and the client. And so I was going to kind of go back over what Mithril is and how it all comes together. But then I actually went back and I thought what might be better, instead of me kind of off the top of my head going through it, let's take a look at this video from last year where we went over, this was from Cardano 360. This is almost exactly a year ago. Actually, here we go. So it was a little over a year ago, May of 2022. Cardano 360 in this special was the first time we had a chance to take a look at the details of how Mithril was going to work. What's cool is now looking back at this in retrospect, this is basically exactly how it rolled out. So that's one of those things before we even look at this, I think, is one of the testaments to the deliberate rollout nature of IOG. There are times where we get frustrated and wish that things came along faster. But what I do like is that, you know, because of the deliberate planning that goes into these things, when they actually do manifest, it ends up being what we expected it to be, you know, for the most part. But this one here is a great example where they made this plan, they've been building it over the past year, and now that's what we're actually seeing. So before we actually take a look at some of the details of what Mithril looks like today, let's go ahead and get a refresher on what Mithril is and what the main elements of it are that we're going to be looking at here in a second. So let me do this. I'm going to hide myself and make myself disappear. And let's go ahead and take a look at this video from last year. Is a closer look at Mithril. So as a reminder, the reason why dataless is such a desirable option for a wallet is because it is fully trustless. What that means is it doesn't rely on any other backend node to validate transactions for it. Your dataless wallet actually runs a Cardano node underneath the hood and validates every single transaction for itself. There's a clear security benefit when compared to even some of our favorite wallets like Eternal or Nami or Flint Wallet, but that trade-off is that really long syncing time where it has to like sync and validate every single transaction. In this diagram here, we can see they kind of illustrate this by showing all of these full nodes all connecting and syncing to the network and coming to a consensus. And that's sort of the main idea of these trustless wallets, but they're really, really heavy. The main idea with Mithril is that instead of having to validate the whole blockchain from the beginning of time, you can instead have secure checkpoints. Think of them like in video games, like having like a secure save point when you're playing your game. Every time you load the game up, you don't have to play the game again from the very beginning of the game. You just load it from your last save checkpoint. Mithril is looking at doing the same thing in a cryptographically secure way by having secure signatures and an aggregation of signatures, and those checkpoints can be used by light clients like your favorite light client in the browser, and then instead of having to validate and download the entire blockchain's history, it can pick up from the last checkpoint that it can cryptographically verify is secure and then move on from there. So the cool thing that they actually finally started digging into in this 360 is how Mithril is actually going to work. So is the first time we've gotten any insight into how it's actually going to come together and how these signatures will be put together and then how they would be propagated. So the way that they explained it is that these checkpoints are going to be comprised of a combination of signatures. These signatures are going to be actually taking bundles of transactions and signing that they're all right, and then saying, okay, this all looks good in terms of the whole scope of the blockchain. Those signatures are going to be put together by stake pools, and your favorite stake pool operators will be able to participate in this process. And then the way that they're going to do in terms of who can sign what is, it looks like what they're planning on doing is similar to, in the same way, how delegation to a stake pool and the size of the delegation dictates the amount of blocks that a stake pool gets. With Mithril, the plan is that the size of the stake pool's delegation is also going to dictate the amount of signatures that that stake pool is allowed to sign. So for example, this pool that has more delegation to it will be able to make several different signatures for the Mithril protocol. This smaller pool will only do a couple, and this one is somewhere in between. So each pool will do an amount of signatures corresponding to its delegation size. And then from there, all of those signatures from all of those pools will all be put together by what's called the Mithril Aggregator. So all of the signatures, let's say these 4 signatures came from one pool, these 2 were from another pool, these 3 were from another pool, and the aggregate of all of them represented a snapshot of the Cardano blockchain at that point in time. The Mithril Aggregator would take all of these signatures, bundle them all together, and then create a verified snapshot that a light client can download and trust, because it knows that it was put together by the same stake pools that we trust to verify the transactions on the network, and those are the ones that created the snapshot in a decentralized and a weighted average kind of way. In its first implementation, the aggregator is going to be centralized, probably run by IOHK themselves, and so the signers, the stake pools themselves, will work directly with this centralized aggregator, and then from there, the idea is that both the signatures and the aggregators will both be decentralized, similar to how we saw in the past, how there was all the stake pools were run by IOHK, and they slowly started like dialing down the stake pools that they ran. And we saw more and more stake pools coming up from the community. Remember the big celebration that we had when D went down all the way to 0, signaling that all stake pools were now run by the community, and none of them were run by IOHK. There's a similar thing that we're expecting to see with Mithril and the aggregators, where it will start with IOHK running all of them, and then eventually with time, we'll see your favorite stake pool operators can serve as both signers and aggregators depending on the roles that they're going to fill. So a lot more detail that we're waiting to come out on this, but this is the first time we've had any. All right, cool. Yeah, so I wanted to take a second there to give us a refresher on what Mithril is, and let me actually see if I can rewind this back to here where we were looking at the actual snapshots and the aggregators. Let me see if I can find it. There we have this, because this is here where we're going to take a look at a little bit deeper here in a second. So let's, so there was this tweet that came out from Conrad. So Conrad, many of you know him. He's one of the co-founders of AdaHandle, a very well-respected community member who's also operator of the Blade stake pool. And he tweeted out this really great image of sort of an architecture diagram of how Mithril is actually going to work. And then once again, we see here the 3 different components of Mithril that we just talked about in that video from last year: the signers based on stake, which are the stake pool operators; one or more aggregator, which the aggregator at first is going to be IOG. And then the whole point is that when you have these aggregated signatures into snapshots, you have different things like light clients that can use them to very quickly spin up the history of the network in a cryptographically verifiable way without having to actually download that whole network. So what I thought would be kind of cool for us to do is, let me see if I can move myself so I'm not on top of this thing. Actually, here's what we'll do. I will see if I can move myself down for this part. Oh yeah, perfect. Down to that corner. What I thought might be kind of cool is let's take a look at actually how Mithril is going to work. I think, you know, one of the things that I like doing on this channel, I think like a lot of the people here that join us, I think for all of us, it's helpful that when we're hearing about these different things that are coming out, to actually, you know, without necessarily having to dig into like the really low level code, to at least get an idea of the technicals of how it's going to come together, so that when we are interacting with these things or we're excited about these things being rolled out on the network, I think it's helpful for us to understand what is actually happening and how it's actually coming together. So let's go ahead and take a look. I know this looks really intimidating and it looks like a lot, but if you actually see, when we're going to talk through here in a second, it's actually really straightforward on what is happening here if we just take it one step at a time. And so I want you guys to be able to like also understand what's happening here, and we'll just sort of dig into it together. Before we do that, let's take a second here and say hi to some people in the comments. Accelerate, always good to see you. You are now a delegator to Woodland Pools. Thank you and welcome aboard. Yeah, it's been nice having you on the live streams for several months now. So thank you for being a delegator and joining us. You'll probably see then your snapshot here in a second when we do the welcome for the delegators. And hello, Mark Byers. Happy Wednesday morning. Thank you for always joining us from Australia. So cool. So let's go ahead and dig in to what's going on here and how Mithril is going to work. If we look at it sort of from a 30,000 foot view, let's just start with the three major components that we talked about before. We first have the Mithril Signer. The signers are going to be the actual stake pool operators. They're going to sign the different sort of checkpoints that we talked about for states of the chain. Then we're going to have the aggregator, which at first is going to be IOG, but then eventually could be other stake pools facilitating this need. And that's going to take all of these different signatures and aggregate them into a composite snapshot. And then once that snapshot is made by the aggregator, then we see here that a Mithril client, which could be like a light wallet or something else, can then use that snapshot to then restore the blockchain at a certain point. So that's sort of our high level of these three things and how they're going to work together. So now let's kind of walk through the process of how this works. Let's start with the signer here, and let's look at what we're actually dealing with in this diagram. Again, it looks kind of intimidating, but if we just look at one section at a time, I think it's actually pretty straightforward. We see that in the signer, we have two different kinds of stores. And a store you can just think of as a place where you can save some information, right? We have this generalized store, which has protocol parameters from the chain, stakes. So the stakes as refers to, if you remember in the video we just looked at, we were saying that the amount of signatures that a pool is going to be able to do is based on the size of the pool, and that size is dictated by the active stake. So this is going to have the protocol parameters and all of the active stakes, so for the weighting of how much each pool will be able to sign. And then also a store of the verification keys or the public keys of these different pools and signers. And then there will be this separate compartmentalized secret store, which holds the secret signature keys for that signer to be able to cryptographically sign things, but you want to store them in a separate place that's not sort of your general, let's call it your generalized sort of public store. And I will say as I'm going through this, if Conrad or anybody else is watching this afterwards, this is sort of my best attempt to go through this diagram, and I think I've got it pretty clear here, but if anybody has any corrections, like if we've got like Adam Dean or Conrad or somebody watching this after the fact, if I do misstate anything here, please let me know. I'm happy to do a revision afterwards. But let's go ahead and continue through here. So we've got our stores where we are storing our protocol parameters, the snapshots for the stake for the different pools, the verification or public keys. Here's where we can store our private keys. We can see here, this is the observer that actually goes out of the boundary of the signer itself and deals with a fully synced Cardano node. And we see that the observer can, hopefully you can read this, the observer can retrieve the information from the synced Cardano node for the epoch that we're in and the different stakes. And then these stakes, if we look here, is what we're going to store in our store here for the different stakes and snapshots. And then additionally, then we have this snapshotter, and this is going to be the actual mechanism by which we do the signatures. The snapshotter can get information from the synced Cardano node to prepare the snapshot. And then so all these different elements are all driven, as you would expect, is some good terminology here, by the Mithril signing engine. So this Mithril signing engine is going to be the one that kind of brings everything together and makes it all happen. So we see that this Mithril signing engine can get any information that it needs from the store. It can get verification key information. It can get the stake snapshots for the active stake. It can get the protocol parameters. It can also get so you see these arrows here. These are like get requests of the signer getting these things and pulling this information in. It can get the secret signing key when it needs to make a signature. It can ask the observer for the current epoch that we're in and the block that we're in at that time. And then this here is a pushing out. It can trigger a snapshot to the snapshotter, and then the snapshot will then work with the synced Cardano node, and when it's done, it will pass back the snapshot, and once this signing engine has this information, it can send this single signature that it has done for this pool, it sends it off to the Mithril aggregating engine. So we see here how like already this really intimidating looking thing, we've already very easily worked through it. We have our engine that's going to have some stores of information that it works with, an observation of the chain, it triggers a snapshot. And then when the snapshot is ready, it sends that over to the aggregator. So now we can imagine this Mithril Aggregator is working with multiple signers like we saw in this video. So we have multiple signatures, which can be coming from multiple signatures from a single pool or spread across different pools. And then all these signatures are sent to the aggregator, which combines them all to make a snapshot. So we can imagine multiple layers of signers all doing the same kind of communication back and forth to the aggregator. And now we see the Mithril Aggregator has a similar kind of layout where once again we have its stores of information where it has protocol parameters for the chain, stakes again of the active stakes of the different pools, the verification keys or the public keys for those pools, a store of the different certificates. And so these certificates we'll see here. These certificates are what is going to verify the actual snapshots. And then so the store of the certificates that verify a snapshot, and then the snapshots themselves, all these things stored. And then it also has its own observer where it can get the epoch that we're in and the stakes, and its own snapshotter that can prepare a snapshot and then take the collection of signatures and turn that into a snapshot, which it can send to a client. And similarly, all of this is driven by the Mithril Aggregator engine. So let's take a look at what that engine does. It can do... let's see here. It can do a get. Here we go. It can ask the. So the way to read these is that if you see an outbound arrow that has a get, that's basically like reaching out and like asking for something. And then if you see it, but similarly, if you have an outbound arrow that has some verb like a send or a trigger, then it's sort of like a push. So here we have the Mithril Aggregator engine asking the signer for a pending certificate. And then here we have the engine is pushing or sending the signatures to the aggregator. So the aggregator engine can get signatures, it can get the stakes for how much weight and how many signatures a given pool should have. It can get the certificates that it has on hand. It can ask the observer for the current epoch and block. It can ask the snapshotter for information for the snapshots that it's putting together. And then from there, here we go. It can create a new certificate. And once that is done, then we can... perfect. And then let's see, there should be somewhere here where we, with a snapshotter. Oh, here we go. Perfect. So the observer triggers a snapshot, pushes it to the snapshotter to start the snapshot. The snapshotter can get some information from the Mithril Aggregator to compute the digest. And then when the snapshot is done, it stores it in this snapshot store. And so then now, once the aggregate engine has made some certificates and stored those, and the snapshotter has made some snapshots and stored those, we now once again see that now we have this whole really intimidating sort of looking thing completely understood. And now crossing the boundary outbound, we have two things that come out of this aggregator to our client, and that is the certificates that verify the snapshots, where you can cryptographically verify them. And then we've got the snapshots themselves that a client can use to restore the state of where they were on the blockchain. Okay, so far so good. Let's take a look then at how we take the combination of signatures that get aggregated into snapshots, and then how those snapshots can be used by the client to restore the state of the blockchain. Now, there's a much simpler diagram because the client, if you think about it, doesn't need to do any of the work for any of this computation. All they need to do is just take the information and then restore their node. So we see that their store, right, where they store their information, all they're storing is a bunch of different certificates. And then they have, instead of a snapshotter and an observer, they have a restorer. And so what this restorer can do is it can download the latest snapshot from the aggregator. And then we see that there's similarly an engine running the client. The verifier engine can trigger a restore. So then the restorer will download the latest snapshot. It computes this and then sends the verification to the engine. Then what the engine will do is get the stakes for the weights and get the verification keys, but then also get the matching certificate that matches, a verifiable certificate that matches the snapshot that it was looking at. And so then when we have all this information together, what the engine can kick off then is, it can trigger a restore action. And then from there, we see that this restorer, if we take a step back to these, we see how the signer and the aggregator were working with fully synced Cardano nodes, because the whole point of them is that they are dealing with Cardano nodes that are fully synced and everything is fully verified. But the Mithril Client deals with an empty Cardano node, because that's the whole point. And then using this restore function, it can then restore a snapshot and push that to the empty Cardano node. And it can take a snapshot that it knows has been verified by a certificate, and it can restore an empty Cardano node and fill it back to a fully synced state without having to do the hours or days of syncing that the signer and the aggregator did. Okay, so that was a lot, but I thought that'd be kind of cool for us to go through and look at this thing where, once again, when you first look at it, you're like, wow, that is a lot. Where do we even begin here? But we see how it is really no more complicated than just this list of 3 items. We have a signer, an aggregator, and then we give the information to the client, and the client can use that to restore their empty Cardano node, and then use a fully synced version of the blockchain without having to do all of that work, but doing it in a cryptographically verifiable way that is equally secure to as if they had done all that syncing on their own. So this is going to be huge for things like light clients as an immediate usage, because, for example, you can have your favorite light client, and instead of them having to rely on a different server to do the syncing for them, the light client can just get these snapshots, verify that they're true from the certificates, and then from there have the same level of confidence as a full node. And then there's gonna be a bunch of other stuff that Mithril can do, but that's gonna be the immediate use case that we can use. And that's why I wore my Daedalus shirt today, because the idea is that our light clients will have the same kind of security and verifiability that a full Daedalus node has, but will now have it because of Mithril. So with all of this, Mithril is now live on the mainnet, and the first snapshots are being certified and produced. It's been in testnet for a while, and we've had some stake pool operators that have been going through this process and doing this verification and testing and all this stuff with IOG. And so we are just now seeing the very first signatures and snapshots being produced. So we should see a good amount of news moving forward about the usage of these things and the incorporations into light clients and wallets and things. So really, really cool, very exciting stuff, multiple years in the making, and it's really neat to see how close we are. Okay, let me take a second here and get a drink of water. And all right, so that's the Mithril news. That's pretty exciting. Next, I wanted to share some information here that actually one of our community members shared, how to register as a voter for Project Catalyst. We also have a playlist on how you can register. If you want to participate as a voter in Fund 10 for Project Catalyst, there's a bunch of great proposals that are out there right now. If you voted before, you need to re-register. So you can go back through our playlist. Let's actually take a look at this here. Of course, I had zoomed this all the way out to be able to make the replay better. Oh, sorry, let's go to playlists here. So here is our Project no, where's our Catalyst playlist? One second. Project Catalyst, here we go. Sweet. So you've heard a lot of it. So I will share this playlist below in the description below, and view full playlist, that's what I want. And for those of you that are following here, this is the Project Catalyst playlist. Cool. So if you are going to participate in Project Catalyst, you will need to re-register. And when you do, here is the minimum requirements and the wallet registration guide. I will also share this in the description below, but I wanted to point it out just as a reminder for folks that you need to register again. Your registration from Fund 9 will not carry over into Fund 10. And so with that, speaking of delegators and community members, since it was somebody from the community that shared this information with me, I wanted to stop and take a moment and say a huge thank you and welcome to all of our newest delegators that have joined us just this week. We truly appreciate your support, and we're so excited to be on this journey with you. Let's keep growing together. If we look here at all the people that have joined us this week, we have from our largest whale friends to the smallest little fishies, everybody is welcome. And let me hide this for a second. Oh, right. I covered myself because I moved myself down here. Oh, well. You got the idea. But what I wanted to show is that with all these folks that have recently joined us, the ASPEN stake pool is now over 17 million ADA delegated and about 1,150 delegators. So thank you so much to all of you for your support. And if you appreciate the work that we do here and how we dig into these technical details and keep everybody up to speed, the best way you can support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool. So once again, thank you so much to all of you and to all of our future delegators as well. Let's keep growing together. Thanks so much. So let's go ahead with that and continue on an update from NZens from Emergo and their USDA. This actually came out last week, but I wanted to dig into all the stuff that was going on last week when we were looking at the all the deep dive into UTXOs and all of that. But I want to make sure that you all were aware of this because we've talked about this a few times on the channel about NZen's USDA fiat-based stablecoin. They announced that although they are ready from a technical standpoint, regulatory headwinds required the pause of USDA and NZens as they seek alternatives for launch. So this, to a certain degree, shouldn't be very surprising from what we're seeing in the United States right now, where we're clearly going through a very choppy time where it's been interesting to see the progress of this, where, for a long time, people were talking about in Congress and things, the only time you'd ever hear crypto mentioned was about it being a scam and how it was only used by nefarious actors and whatever else. But now we're starting to see that there's a lot of people in Congress that understand and appreciate the value of cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology. And we're very much in real time watching this fight go live between the different sides of Congress from a regulatory standpoint and how we move forward. But unfortunately, you have projects like this that kind of get caught in that churn. And it has not been a friendly time in the United States for blockchain regulation, as we all know, and specifically for stablecoins. So unfortunately, the NZens team, which is technically ready, is being caught up in all of this. So after discussions with stakeholders and Cardano dApps, they made the difficult decision to pause the USDA stablecoin and NZens launch. Let me do this. This will be easier for us to look at. Yeah. Due to regulatory uncertainty, they remain dedicated to the NZens market. But here we go. So weighing the risks, the current timing and regulatory uncertainty in the U.S. Pose unforeseen changes, and they prioritize the ecosystem's safety and will not expose it to unnecessary risks. This is important because the whole thing about a fiat-based stablecoin is that they were going to work with strategic auditing partners and specific banks where they were going to actually have a one-for-one of US dollars for every USDA that was minted. But I think what they're hinting at here is that if for some reason, due to the murky regulations in the United States, if for some reason, those assets were frozen or some complication happened from the banking side, from the traditional finance side, that would put their users at an unnecessary risk, even though the funds were there. It's no good to anybody if they can't be removed or if any of that validation can't happen. So really unfortunate to see, not terribly surprising, but we'll let you know as we hear more about how this unfolds, and hopefully we will hear some good news from USDA in the future, but I wanted to keep you guys posted about that. All right. Stacy, hello. It's been a while, but it's good now. I think 2 weeks in a row that you're back with us. It's really good to see you. For those that are watching, Stacy has been a delegator and a follower since nearly the very beginning, at least 2 years or so. So great to see you, Stacy. Hello again. Cool. So with that, we had all this exciting and interesting news, and now as we get to the bad news, right? As to stay on brand with HOSKY, the bad news. That's it. We've hit rock bottom. The ASPEN stake pool was selected to be an official HOSKY Rug Pool, and so let's go ahead and take a look at what that even means. Here's what I was referring to here. I found out literally on Monday. As I was meeting RJ at the airport, I found out that we were selected to be a rug pool and join the folks in the rug pool ecosystem. So I guess let's take a step back. So for those that are not necessarily, I know pretty much everybody in the Cardano ecosystem knows of HOSKY, but I don't think that everybody necessarily knows what the HOSKY Token rug pools are. So this is going to be updated, and we'll include it'll include ASPEN in this list now. But HOSKY, where it started off kind of as like a joke meme things, as a satire of meme coins, it's been really interesting. I've been kind of just quietly watching this HOSKY project build out over the past several years. We've covered it on and off in the channel, but not terribly extensively. And it's been really interesting to see how this project has been maturing, both in terms of where it went, and no offense to the HOSKY team, I don't mean to call you mature. Don't take that the wrong way. You are very immature, all of you. But all joking aside, it's been really cool to see how this project's been rolling out, and time again, every time that I see things coming out from either HOSKY himself or from the HOSKY project, it always seems like the kinds of things that are aligned with the stuff that we talk about on this channel all the time, about decentralization, about helping to onboard people into the ecosystem, about sort of reducing the anxiety of interacting with blockchain and getting comfortable with it. I mean, literally in the channel, we say all the time about growing your investment with confidence. What we always mean by that, right, and what I always say is that the notion of, as you learn more about the things you're invested in, like what we were just talking about here, as you have a better understanding of what you're investing in and how to use it and how to navigate it, then you become more confident in it, and you can just feel like you actually have an understanding of what you're doing. And so time and time again, I've seen the HOSKY project moving in that direction while also pushing for decentralization. And I thought it was a really cool thing. And so I applied for ASPEN to be one of the rug pools, which is our pools that are affiliated with the HOSKY project. And we were fortunate enough to get selected to join them as one. And so we're going to take a look at that in a second and what that means to be a rug pool, and for all of our current delegators, what that means for you, and then for all of the new delegators that have joined us from HOSKY as well. But what I thought might be kind of interesting to do is, because we literally just talked about this, about the proof of onboarding, the P.o.O initiative from HOSKY, and what it means. This is one of the most recent things we just talked about on the channel about HOSKY. And so as a recap and a reminder, let's look at this again from our live stream from about 2 or 3 weeks ago, and what are some of the latest initiatives that HOSKY is doing, and some of the stuff that I hope to have the ASPEN stake pool also involved in here moving forward. So let me get this zoomed in here a little bit, and let me hide myself again here, and there we go. And let's go ahead and take a look at this clip from a couple of weeks ago talking about HOSKY's proof of onboarding program. One of the biggest challenges we've seen for a while is how do we get other people onboarded into blockchain, and specifically Cardano. And actually, I would even invert those and say they'll get to Cardano eventually, because I truly believe that we have some of the best merits of any blockchain. But so then to that, how do I get people into blockchain at all? And there's this big announcement that came out that is a pairing of BuffyBot, which is from the legendary Adam Dean. He's one of the OGs in the Cardano blockchain. HOSKY and Vesper Wallet. HOSKY always killing it with the branding, coming out with the announcement of Proof of Onboarding, or P.o.O, the gateway to Cardano. So I thought this was really cool. For those of you guys that don't know BuffyBot or Adam Dean, before NMaker, before a lot of these other things, BuffyBot was sort of the first NFT minting platform that anybody could go to as a hobby or for a project or whatever, and just mint some NFTs. And then, of course, everybody knows HOSKY and the HOSKY tokens, which the goal of that project was to give people worthless tokens that they can swap around to get used to and comfortable working with a wallet. And then Vesper Wallet, which I've actually not personally worked with, but let me know if you guys have. All of them pairing together to make onboarding for Cardano easier. So here's how this is going to work. BuffyBot, HOSKY, and Vesper are thrilled to announce the unveil of the Proof of Onboarding P.o.O protocol, an open source tool engineered to simplify the onboarding process of the Cardano ecosystem. So here's how it's going to work. So it's 3 simple steps. You just scan a QR code, and that takes you to the Vesper download page. You create a wallet on Vesper, and then you scan one more QR code from your wallet to activate an airdrop to the new wallet, initiating exploration of the Cardano ecosystem with Cardano native tokens, which I'm assuming are going to be HOSKY tokens, and some NFTs powered by BuffyBot. So I think it's really cool, because if you think about it, think about now for all of us, I mean, on the channel, for example, here on the channel, look at the amount of tutorials that we have. Let's do a search for just wallets. Look at how many tutorials we have about wallets and how to get onboarded. Nami, Eternal, Typhon. If you go far enough back, you'll see Daedalus, Yoroi, Adalite, right? So for a lot of people, this can be kind of overwhelming in terms of like, how do I get on board? How do I get started? What do I need to do? So I love this idea that for people that are first coming into the ecosystem, all they do is scan a QR code. It takes them to somewhere where they make a wallet. Then from there, once their wallet's set up, they scan another QR code. They get basically some test tokens, right? HOSKY tokens famously have 0 value. And then from there, they can practice sending and receiving transactions on the network. So I love this idea. And let me know in the comments and down below if you guys have worked with Vesper Wallet before. I have not, but I think it's probably time that I do. I've heard a lot of good. All right, cool. Yeah, so I wanted to go back over that as a reminder of one of the latest initiatives that HOSKY was doing with its proof of onboarding, which, like as I said in this video, is very much in line with the kind of stuff that we're always talking about in the channel about getting folks up to speed in blockchain and Cardano, and how do we get as many people on board and reduce that friction on getting them comfortable. So before we dig into what HOSKY Token is and what it means for you as a delegator now that ASPEN is a rug pool, let's go ahead and do a couple more hellos here. Oh yeah, so 56 Hope Road. 56 Hope Road. This is talking about the Enzens thing. Where did this go? Here. Pretty sure they were going to use Signature Bank. Yeah, that is unfortunate because that's one of the banks that went under, if that's the case. Accelerate. Shameless plug for Matthew Plumman. USDM launching this fall. Fully backed, stable for ADA. This is huge. Cool. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. Let me know. Accelerate. If you can drop a link to that, I'd be happy to take a look at that more. Because the more diversified stable coins that we can get, the better. So yeah, let me know a link to that, and I'll be happy to take a look at it. Kenny Alvarado, hello, good to see you again. And actually, that reminds me, so for other folks as they're joining, let us know where you're joining from and any questions that you have. We'll probably go in for another maybe 10 or 15 minutes here. But if there are any other questions that come in, I'll be happy to answer them as we go through this. And actually, for anybody that's here that's part of the ASPEN Rug Pool on Discord, share this link with those folks as we kind of go through this, because I forgot to do that. I probably should have. But okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at the HOSKY guide on what the HOSKY project is, what the HOSKY token is for, and then how you can get some of it. Because like I said, for some people joining that are coming from the HOSKY community, you know all of this already. For those that have been delegators to the pool for a while, you might say, okay, well, what's the point of all of this, and what's the HOSKY token used for? So let's take a look at that so that we're all on the same page. So what is HOSKY? HOSKY is a native token of the Cardano blockchain. A quadrillion and one tokens were minted, and they've been allocated to various purposes. As they say, what is HOSKY? They bring absolutely nothing other than low-quality memes, no financial value, no promises of massive gains, no mind-beagling technology, just doggo memes. So, I think it's important that we set a baseline here that the whole purpose of the HOSKY project is to be kind of a lighthearted, fun sort of satire on meme coins. This is not, let me be very clear, not something you should be spending money on. The whole thing about it is that it is zero value and worth nothing. That is not a tongue-in-cheek thing. It is literally intended to be worth nothing. The whole point of it is to be able to kind of get it for fun, send it around, especially if you have like friends that are coming on board. That's the whole point of the proof of onboarding that they were doing. If you have friends that are coming on board and coming into Cardano for the first time, you can help them get some HOSKY tokens, and they can get used to transacting and sending transactions back and forth without having to worry about sending their actual valuable real ADA. So let's take a look at how you can actually get some HOSKY tokens. So how do you acquire HOSKY tokens? There's 6 different ways you can get it. You can stake to a rug pool, which ASPEN is now one. You can actually buy it on some exchanges. I cannot say this enough. Don't buy HOSKY token. There's no reason to buy HOSKY token. There's so many other ways that you can get it. And again, it is intended to be worth nothing. In Discord, if you join the HOSKY Discord, there are tips and rain and lots of different ways you can get it there. You can actually purchase it from the Doggy Bowl. This purchase is, to a certain degree, a bit of a misnomer. I mean, I guess you send 2 ADA, you get 1.5 ADA back, and that also covers your transaction fees. So you're paying about like a 0.3 ADA or so. But again, you don't need to do this if you just delegate to a rug pool, and we'll look at that in a second. There's some promotional sites where you can, again, you could buy it from, but don't do that. And then you can get them sometimes in rewards and things. And famously, HOSKY always gives these things away. Like at conferences and things, you'll just scan it and you'll get it that way. So, but here's the important takeaway. What's the most efficient way to obtain HOSKY? And generally speaking, staking to a rug pool is the primary way that HOSKY is released to the community. So here's how this works. Each rug pool receives an equal amount of HOSKY. And I'm going to link this down below so you can go through it in more detail. But I wanted to show here. Here we go. So what you can do is if you delegate to a rug pool, each epoch, if you send, let me do a search for rug pool here. Here we go. Perfect. How to acquire HOSKY staking to a rug pool. You send exactly 2 ADA each epoch to the rug pool ADA handle. And then from there, you'll be sent back your corresponding HOSKY. For anybody that's a delegator to the pool right now, this is not kicked in yet. We are currently in epoch 427. you will be able to get your first HOSKY token rewards from the rug pool, from the doggy bowl, on epic 429. So that's 2 epics from now. So let's take a look here at, if we come to, see here, like go to hosky.io. If you come to hosky.io, here's the main website. Here, this rug pool bowl is where you can get information on how you can claim your HOSKY tokens. If you're like me and you use Brave, when you try and click on this, nothing happens. You need to turn off your shields for Brave, and then this becomes clickable. And it gives you the information on how you can claim your doggy bowl stuff. So you must be staking with one of the official rug pools, which will, ASPEN will meet this category starting in 2 epics in epic 429. This rug pool can only be used once per epic, per stake address, and you need to use a Shelly era wallet, and it should say here we go, send exactly 2 ADA to rug pool or this address, and you'll get sent back the HOSKY token that you have earned. In Discord, there's also a spreadsheet that will show you per epic how much you're going to be earning. And so what I want to do is when epic 429 rolls around, and we are eligible for the first time to claim our HOSKY tokens, what I'll do is on the live stream, we will come back here, we'll do this whole process using our wallet, and then we'll actually show how to claim these HOSKY tokens. So coming back to our idiot's guide here, again, I think it's kind of a cool way where you can like get these like fun tokens. You can, the same way how you can get them from Discord and these different promotions, you can also give them away. So it's kind of a fun thing too, where like, you know, as people like collect these things and you want to be generous, you can go into the Discord and you can gift them away. You can give them to friends that have just started on Cardano. I don't know. The other thing too that I'll say, I just joined the, actually, I guess let me find this. I just recently joined the Discord, and I got just completely spammed with welcome notifications. And I will say, I was very pleasantly surprised with the HOSKY Discord. I'd heard it was very infamous, the HOSKY Discord, in terms of how wild it gets in there, and it very much held to its reputation, and also just a ton of very active and friendly people. Hats off to HOSKY himself and to everybody that's part of the broader HOSKY community. I'm very excited to be part of, I am very dishonored to be part of the rug pools and part of the HOSKY ecosystem. And all joking aside, I can't wait to see what I can do to help with this proof of onboarding. What I definitely want to do is, once I get my hands on one of these actual proof of onboarding cards, is maybe make a quick video showing how it's done so we can share it with people and get them up to speed. Okay, let's take a look here. Pete from Learn Cardano had a video with the USDM guys recently. Oh, okay, sweet. I'll check that out. Hope Road, thanks. This is referring to Accelerate's comment. I sold my HOSKY from drip drops for ADA. Oh, cool. Yeah, sweet. Yeah, I mean, yeah, like if you can get people to pay you for your worthless tokens, then great. But yeah, I would not advise anybody actually buying it. So yeah, you know, it's another fun benefit of being a delegator to the ASPEN stake pool. You can get HOSKY tokens for free. Man, AMA, Cardano fiat backed. Oh, here we go. Stablecoin on YouTube in case the link breaks. Yeah, okay, awesome. Sweet. Yeah, and if anything, just drop it in the comments down below. If this, let's actually do that. Instead of putting it here, put it in the comments down below, and then that way it'll persist, and I'll take a look at it. Cool. But I think, hey, CB Suddy, you made it. You're just in time. I'll leave you up here, CBD Suddy. You're just in time for our departure. So thank you so much for joining us. You made it live. You know, it's like good afternoon. It's like Ben Cowan says on his channel. He's one of the YouTube people that I like watching for technical stuff. You know, about being technically correct is the best way to be correct. You technically made it right before we ended, but you are technically here, and that counts. So with that, we covered a lot of cool stuff today. We are coming in just under the hour, so perfect timing. Once again, thank you to all of our new delegators, big and small, our huge new whale friend, and our tiny little fishies that have come as part of the rug pool operation. So excited to be part of that group. If you appreciate the work that we do here, the best way you can support the channel is by delegating to the ASPEN stake pool. Thank you so much to everybody as always. This has been a blast. We had to push this back by a day, but starting next week, we should be back on schedule on Monday evenings at 11 p.m. UTC, 7 p.m. Eastern Time, and 5 p.m. here in warm, sunny Colorado. So if nothing else, we'll see you guys next week. Have a great night, everybody. Bye.